Shall we begin?
Sure.
Sí.
Hola, Yael.
Oh, yeah.
Hola, hola a
Tú
todos. Hola,
estás
Jessy.
en
Hola,
un
Suji.
lugar nuevo.
Sí.
Sí,
¿Dónde
yo
está?
estoy en mi cuarto todavía, pero ya yo pinté mi cuarto.
Oh, sí. Sí, era azul, pero ahora mismo no.
Exacto, era azul, pero ahora no me gustaba mucho el azul. Me
Ah,
gusta más el blanco.
el blanco
Blanco
es...
es mejor porque parece nueva.
Sí. Well,
Exacto.
sí, especialmente para las clases en línea, sí. En Zoom. Yeah. Porque es más, ¿cómo se dice? Es más claro, es lighter, sí.
Ujú. Más
Sí.
claro, más brilloso. Hay brighter
Mm.
también.
Brioso, you said?
Brilloso. El brillo.
Brioso. El brillo.
Brioso.
Like brilliant, like brilliant. Yeah.
Brillante.
Yeah.
Bien.
Brillante, 있어요?
Ujú.
Sorry, that's Korean. Brillante. Muy bien. Pero el gato Floyd es un gato azul.
Y
Sí.
morado.
Sí, y morado, sí, y morado. Hay más morado
Sí.
que el azul, ¿sí?
Sí.
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 Sí. Clase,
Sí.
¿qué tiene? Lo siento. ¿Quién tiene un gato?
Elena.
Sí,
un gato.
Elena tiene un
Yes.
gato. Y Jessie también tiene un gato.
Sí.
Y clase,
Sí.
Ya, así.
¿tiene Yael un gato?
No lo sé. Yael, ¿tienes un gato?
No, pero yo quiero un gato.
Tú quieres un
Ah.
gato. Tú quieres tener un gato. Tú quieres mantener un gato. Sí,
Sí.
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 Tú quieres tener y mantener un gato en tu casa. Sí. ¿Cuál color del gato quieres?
Me gustaría un gato de color amarillo.
Amarillo.
¿Tú gustarías? No, ¿tú te gustarías? ¿A ti te gustarías tener un
Me
gato
gustaría.
amarillo? Ok. Me would like. Sí.
No
¿Tú?
veo un gato amarillo.
¿En serio?
¿Serio?
¿Naranja?
¿Amarillo?
Sí,
¿Amarillo?
amarillo, naranja.
Amarillo.
Ya,
Amarillo.
amarillo.
Naranja.
Sí.
Naranja, ya. Sí. Pero amarillo.
Sí. Well, okay, this is a little exaggerated, but this is, sí, es naranja, es naranja, pero es un, sí,
Es
here.
naranja.
Café.
Ya, ¿qué piensas tú? ¿Es naranja o es el naranja o es el amarillo?
Yo pienso que es amarillo.
Yeah, sí.
Es un
Yo
líquido.
entiendo. Yo creo que es realmente marrón, no, what's the like castañano, like brown. It's like a brown tan color. Sí. Sí, pero yo puedo entender si una persona piensa que es naranja o amarillo. Sí, yo puedo entender, pero yo creo que es blonde. ¿Sí?
Blonde?
Blonde. Yes, this is a blonde
Pero-
cat. Yeah.
Pero
Ya.
en cada idioma,
¿Sí?
por ejemplo, en chino,
¿Sí?
esto gato
¿Sí?
se llama naranja gato.
Ah, orange cat.
que-
Naranja gato.
Sí. Así que pensamos, esto gato es naranja.
Orange
Mm.
tabby. That's what we call them in the United States. Orange
How do you
tabby.
call it?
Well, if it's a tabby, yes,
Yeah.
orange tabby.
Well, those are orange tabbies that you're showing. That's an orange.
Orange.
At-
Okay.
Sí,
Orange.
atigrado.
Así que ya
Oh,
en
el tigrado.
el tic-
Yeah,
El tigre.
Tigrado.
Yeah,
Ah,
el
En-
tigre.
en español no tienes un nombre para esto gato. Naranja gato, por ejemplo. O amarillo gato.
¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se llama? Este gato.
Y es atigrado. El gato atigrado.
Atigrado. Atigrado.
Atigrado. Así que no lo sé. Ok.
Pero Floyd no es un gato atigrado. Sí. O no es atigrado. ¿Es atigrado adjetivo? Or-
Las dos están bien. No es un gato
Mm.
atigrado, no es atigrado.
No es un gato atigrado. Es un gato azul y morado. It's poetry. Sí. Pero Jessie no tiene un gato azul ni morado tampoco. Jessie tiene un gato negro y naranja, ¿sí?
Naranja.
¿Hay naranja?
Gold-
¿Marrón?
golden.
Oh,
Dorado.
dorado.
Creme.
Creme? I don't know.
Un
Cream.
momento.
Un momento.
Come here, baby.
Crema.
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 Oh,
Un
hola, gato. Oh,
el
sí.
estómago
En el estómago. Oh,
es creme,
hola.
black,
Yeah.
um,
Gris.
gris,
Y-
Yeah. Gris.
and
Atigrado.
Atigrado.
También es atigrado.
Atigrado. Atigrado negro. ¿Sí?
atigrado negro.
Atigrado. Negro atigrado. Atigrado negro. Sí.
also shedding.
Oh, muy bien. Sí, muy bien. Entonces, Jessie tiene un gato. Elena tiene un gato. Pero yo, Yael y Suching no tenemos un gato. No tenemos un gato. Ahora mismo describe la situación sobre los gatos. ¿Quiénes tienen gatos y quiénes no tienen gatos? Y ¿en qué color son los gatos? Y sí. Momento, por favor. ¿Hay preguntas? No? Oh, I didn't change this before. So, el tiempo ha terminado. Ha terminado. Oops. Confirm. So, and then it's going to tell you in Korean to describe the situation. So you can see a little Korean on the timer. Okay. 3, 2, 1, fuera. Oh, there is no Korean. El tiempo ha terminado. Okay, I talked the whole time, more than 50%, less than 50%. So good. Muy bien. Confidence. Yes, sí.
He doesn't think so. ¿Cómo se dice? Él no lo cree así.
Él no. Él. Oh, sorry, I spelled L wrong. Él. Let me try. Él lo no pienso. Piense, I mean piensa.
So,
Él lo no pienso. Él. And creo is more like believe. So if you wanted to say he couldn't believe or he like doesn't believe it, you'd probably use creo. Or I mean cree. Él lo no pienso. Él no pienso lo. Él no piensa. I keep saying so. Él no piensa lo. ¿Qué dices? Yeah.
Él no lo piensa así.
Él no lo piensa. Put the no first. Él no lo piensa.
pero when you want to say, I think so, you would say, creo que sí. Yeah.
That actually means I believe so. Creo que sí. I believe so. So it is still saying that you think that, but it's more of a belief. And then yo pienso, because what you're really saying is like, I believe that's true, or I believe that, versus like, I think is more like your opinion or like your thinking process in the moment. You know, I don't know if I'm being clear, but, and like creer has a little slightly deeper feeling than pensar, which is a little bit, I don't know, yeah, correct me, but it feels a little more superficial and a little less seguro, a little less certain. But yeah, tell us.
You're right, actually. If I say yo no lo creo así, it's like I don't think so. So it's more like what you think and you're not very sure. Or you can also say it so you don't feel like, oh, this is my point of view. Maybe you have a different point of view. Yo no lo creo así. But you say, oh, yo no lo pienso así. That's more like, yeah, this is my point of view. I am sure it's this way. And but they are just slightly different, actually.
Yeah, what about me parece que? Like, it seems to me or appears to me, me parece que.
Sí.
Could you use that also?
Yeah, in both cases, it seems to me.
Yeah, it seems to me that whatever, you know,
Mm.
me parece. Okay.
Okay, so you're saying it's the opposite of what I was thinking then. Yeah. That the yo cree que sí is less certain than yo pienso que sí.
Mhm. Mm, mm, mm.
Tengo interés.
I think we probably overanalyze it.
No,
Because-
no.
No. The examples that I saw, I feel like they are very slightly different and they're basically the same. So creo que sí, it's, you know, just I think so. And also me parece que sí. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so I know when we translate, it sounds like believe, but like in that language, does it really, you know, referring
Well,
to
there's got to be a nuance, otherwise there wouldn't be two different words. There's always a nuance with different words in every language. So I'm always curious to know the nuance, because if I know the nuance, then I'm able to use it more accurately. And that's, my eventual goal. And so since we're right here, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So yeah, any new insights into that?
Well, I am doing my research too, some here on the internet. Yeah, I found that pensar is more like believe, and think is more like creer.
Oh, okay.
No,
It's the
one second.
opposite. Yeah.
No, 1 second, sorry. Actually, yeah, pensar to think.
Okay.
No, un momento. Yeah, pensar to think.
And creer to believe.
Because, for example, I would say, oh, creo que va a llover. I think it's going to rain. I believe
it's going to rain. Yeah, I believe it's going to rain. And
I
we
would
say that.
Yeah. I would say, I think about you. Pienso en ti.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And if you say, creo en ti, you're saying like, I believe in you and I believe in your ability to do it. And
Oh,
so there the nuance is easier to feel versus when you're agreeing with something or disagreeing with something. So okay, so it sounds like then in Spanish culture to say yo creo que sí, when you say like I believe so or I believe so, and you're saying that in response to someone's thinking or their opinion or whatever, then it seems less, or it sounds like you're saying to me, yeah, it seems less. Okay, let me say it the other way. Let's say someone like says something that you don't agree with, and you say, oh, yo no creo que sí, right? There, it sounds less confrontational than say, yo no pienso que sí.
That's true.
Because yo no pienso que sí is saying like, that's not what I think, versus like, oh, I don't believe that. And so since the belief is contained within me, the other person is like, oh, okay, you believe this and I believe that, and it's no problem. But interesting.
Yes, exactly. It's more like what you actually believe it's true. Yo pienso que sí. I think it's similar to English when you agree to, in the case when you are agreeing, like you can say either I believe so or I think so, right? And they are somewhat similar.
Yeah, I believe so.
What do you think?
Muy bien. So yeah, we'll let that percolate in our minds. Muy bien. So él no lo piensa or él no lo cree. Can't believe it. Yeah, but in other situations, the nuance is a lot easier to feel. Like, yo pienso en ti. Did you say yo pienso en ti? What did you say? Yeah, so like I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking about you, versus yo creo en ti, like I believe in you that, oh, you can do this. I have faith in you. Sí. Muy bien. Clase.
Sí.
¿Tiene el gato Floyd solo un problema?
Sí, no. 4.
Sí. Él no tiene solo un problema porque tiene 4 problemas. Sí. Y clase.
Sí.
Sí.
He doesn't. Tengo yo 4 problemas también.
No, no tienes. Tú tienes, no lo sé, pero quizás muchos problemas.
Sí. Yo tengo solo un problema. Sí. Sí. Yo tengo solo un problema. Jessie?
¿Qué es tu problema?
¿Cuál es mi problema?
¿Cuál?
Clase. Sí, clase. ¿Cuál es mi problema? Lo que tengo.
¿No tienes un gato?
No
Pero
quiere.
no es un problema porque yo estoy viviendo en un lugar, en un apartamento donde yo no puedo tener un gato. Entonces no es un problema que yo
Entonces,
no tengo un problema.
el lugar es un problema porque no permite un gato.
Tú piensas que mi lugar, mi apartamento es el problema porque no permite un gato.
Sí.
Es posible que sea el problema. ¿Qué piensas tú, Jessie?
Tu problema. O tu apartamento y el gato. ¿Cuál?
¿Cuál es mi problema? Su-Ching piensa que mi problema es con mi apartamento o que yo no tengo un gato, pero mi problema sería anything.
Okay. Tu problema es tú tienes una vecina que no le gusta tu música cuando tú tocas el piano.
Oh, ¿tú piensas que yo tengo una
vecina?
una vecina?
Neighbor?
A neighbor?
Yeah, neighbor, is that right? Yeah, ¿es correcto? Sí, okay.
Correcto.
La vecina?
Yeah, una vecina is a female. Yeah. You got a neighbor, a female neighbor that doesn't like your music when you play the piano.
Vecino. ¿Hay otra palabra para neighbor?
You're looking for something sounds like neighbor?
No, I just think that I know a different word. But I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, I feel like I heard something else before too.
N-E-I-G-H-B-O-R. Yeah, neighbor. Anyway. Sí, Jessie piensa que yo tengo una vecina. que a ella no le gusta la sueña.
¿Sueña?
The sound? La música. Oh, sí. El sonido del piano cuando yo toco el piano.
Pero creo que tú eres muy talentoso. I don't know how to say that.
¿Tú crees que yo tengo mucho talento para tocar el piano?
Talento. Sí, pero una vecina es estúpida.
La vecina es mala. Oh.
Sí.
La vecina es mala, en tu opinión. Ya, ¿cuál es mi problema, en tu opinión? ¿Qué piensas tú?
Yo pienso que tu problema es que tú quieres, bueno, yo sé que tú quieres aprender muchos idiomas y tú no tienes mucho tiempo para aprender muchos idiomas.
No tengo suficiente tiempo para
Sí.
eso.
Tú necesitas dormir a veces.
Sí, a veces. Sí. Entonces hay 3 opiniones del problema de mí. De mi problema. Sí. Una de las personas en nuestra clase piensa que yo no tengo suficiente tiempo para aprender, para adquirir, para adquirir todos los idiomas que yo quiero adquirir. Y una de las personas en nuestra clase piensa que tengo una vecina a quien no le gusta el sonido del piano en mi apartamento cuando yo toco el piano. Y la otra persona en nuestra clase piensa que yo no puedo tener un gato porque estoy en un apartamento donde los gatos no están permitidos. El apartamento no permite los gatos. Entonces, este es mi problema. Pero, ¿qué es la verdad? Oh.
¿Qué es
Ahora
mejor?
mismo.
Mejor.
¿Qué es mejor? Ahora mismo, describe la situación sobre los problemas, pero al principio, Jessie,
Sí.
¿qué piensas switching? ¿Cuál es mi problema?
Suching piensa que su problema es tú quieres un gato, pero tu apartamento no permite los gatos y tú eres muy triste porque tú quieres un gato, pero no creo que tú quieres un gato.
Sí, sí.
En mi opinión.
En tu opinión. Let's use la dueña. This will make more sense because we're saying my apartment doesn't allow it, but it's not my apartment that doesn't allow it. La dueña del apartamento or la dueña de mi apartamento, the owner of my landlady. Yeah. Would we say that for landlady? The owner? Sí. La dueña.
O la arrendataria.
Oh my
No,
God.
espera.
Arrentada. No, I can't even say that.
No,
Dataria.
perdón.
Go back to the
Más
apartment.
fácil. La casera
Dataria.
arrendadora.
Casera.
La casera arrendadora. Arrendadora. Okay, that arrendadora I can do. That's like a rent. Arrendadora.
Arrendadora.
La dueña de mi apartamento or la arrendadora. The renter. La arrendadora de mi apartamento no permite los gatos.
Sí.
Creo que sí, Jessie. Cree, lo siento, ¿crees que sí? ¿Crees que sí? ¿Es la verdad, Jessie?
Do I
¿Es mi
think?
problema?
No.
Oh, no. Tú no crees que sí.
No.
Tú no crees que es mi problema.
Es un buen idea,
Oh, es una buena idea.
pero no creo que sí.
Ok. Suchin, ¿qué piensa Yael? ¿Cuál es mi problema?
Ya él piensa que tú no tienes tiempo, no tienes suficiente tiempo para adquirir,
Sí.
adquirir, para adquirir muchos idiomas.
Sí. No tengo suficiente tiempo para adquirir todos los idiomas que yo quiero adquirir. Sí. ¿Crees que sí? ¿Crees que es la verdad?
Sí, yo creo que sí también.
¿Cambiaste tu opinión? Did you change your opinion?
Oh, no. Yo creo que tú tienes muchos problemas.
Oh, ¿tú crees que yo tengo muchos problemas?
Sí.
Oh, no.
Y Yair es correcto, Jessie es correcto y somos.
Oh.
Y hay otra más, pero no lo sé. Puedes decir, how do you say, you can tell us.
Sí. So, puedes decirnos
Gracias.
a nosotros. Sí. Or just puedes decirnos. Sí.
Decirnos.
Sí. Or vas a decirnos.
Vas a decirnos. You are going to tell us?
Sí, vas a decirnos. Sí.
Okay.
Or, sí. Tú piensas que yo voy a decirles cuál es mi problema, pero
¿No?
yo no necesito. Yo no necesito decirles. Sí. So ahora mismo, no, Yael.
Sí.
¿Qué piensas, Jessie, que es mi problema?
Jessie piensa
¿Cuál
que
es mi problema?
Ajá, ¿cuál es tu problema? Jessie piensa que tú tienes una vecina o una arrendadora que no permite a los, sí, se queja de la música, que se queja de la música.
¿Se queja? What is that?
Se queja.
Say something.
Complain.
Se
Okay.
queja. She complains herself. Herself, she complains. Yeah. So say,
Hmm.
it's the same in German too. You have to like complain yourself. So say herself complains. Sí. Se queja. Se queja. Se queja. Se queja sobre ¿qué?
Sí, se queja de la música del piano, que está muy alta.
¿Y qué crees tú? ¿Crees que es la verdad? ¿Crees que es verdad?
Ahora que lo pienso, yo creo que lo que Sujin dice también es verdad, que todo es verdad, todos los problemas son verdaderos. Tú
Oh,
tienes una
no.
vecina que se queja de la música, tú quieres un gato, tú no tienes tiempo para aprender suficiente, tú no tienes suficiente tiempo para adquirir los idiomas.
Ahora mismo, describe la situación sobre los problemas, sobre las opiniones de ustedes, de mis problemas que yo supposedly tengo. Yeah, supposedly. Anyway, ahora mismo, supuestamente, sí. Sí, yo supuestamente tengo. Let's give you 2 minutos, 2 minutos 22 segundos. ¿Hay preguntas?
No.
Okay. Listos. O listas. Well, no, listos, because yeah, it's here. Listos. Fuera. Okay, talk the whole time. More than 50%, less than 50%. And confidence in my production. I don't even need to look at any words. It just totally just comes out. 4, if I think about it, or okay. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One, I guess.
Oh, you're so not confident in your production. Oh no, I'm a terrible teacher. Okay, what was I gonna do? Oh, I changed this to leaser because renter is a little confusing because renter could really, if you think about it, go either way. The person who is renting the apartment or the person who is renting to the person. So just change it to leaser. Okay, clase.
Sí.
Sí.
Ahora mismo, ustedes piensan que tengo 3 problemas, pero
Sí.
no es la verdad porque yo les dije que yo tengo solo un problema. ¿Sí? Yo les dije que yo tengo solo un problema. Mi problema es que yo tengo muchos problemas.
¿Sí?
Sí.
Soy
Mi,
correcto.
sí. Mi problema es que yo tengo solo un problema. Y mi problema es que yo tengo muchos problemas.
Sí.
Sí. Entonces, ustedes tenían correcto? Tenían, yeah. Do you say had right in Spanish too?
You actually say, no, you say tú estabas en lo correcto.
En lo correcto. So,
Ustedes estaban.
sí, ustedes estaban en lo correcto. Sí. Sí, estaban en lo correcto, pero no estaban totalmente en lo correcto porque ustedes pensaban que yo tengo muchos problemas, pero no es la verdad porque yo tengo solo un problema, que es yo tengo muchos problemas. Es un poco complicado porque soy una persona complicada. Sí.
Sí.
Yo sé.
Pero tú necesitas mudarse en una casa y todos los problemas resolver.
No, porque si una persona tenga no, si una persona tiene una casa,
sí.
entonces tendría demasiado problemas.
¿Qué?
Oh, necesito esto fix. Necesito esto fix. Necesito. I don't keep saying esto, but este. I always have to fix this and fix that and this, that. No.
Tú eres negativo. Tú eres
Sí, soy un chico negativo sobre las casas. Porque, oh, sí, tengo muchos amigos que tienen casas y cada día se quejan sobre los problemas de las casas. Sí. Entonces, no quiero tener una casa. Ahora mismo, Es posible que yo cambiara mi opinión, pero ahora mismo no. No. Sí. Suching,
¿Sí?
¿tienes tú un problema también?
Yo tengo okay, yo tengo muchos problemas.
¿Tú tienes muchos problemas? ¿En
Sí.
serio?
Sí, pero
Oh, yo creo, anyway, never mind, go.
you don't think so, yeah? No estoy de acuerdo. No estás de acuerdo.
I
No,
wanted
no,
to,
no, no.
yeah, anyway.
I'm kidding.
Sí.
Estoy muy feliz, pero realmente no tengo problema. Lo siento, Nathan.
Oh, tú no tienes problemas. Muy
No.
bien. Suching es una persona sin problemas. Estoy
Sí.
celoso.
Sí.
Yo también.
Oh, Jessie
Oh.
también es una persona sin problemas.
Sí.
Entonces,
Estoy jubilada y tengo,
retired.
jubilada, retired. Tengo suficiente comida, suficiente ropa, un gato, una casa.
Suficiente gatos. ¿Quieres tener más gatos?
Oh, no, un gato es suficiente.
Es suficiente. Oh, muy bien. Muy bien. Momento. So, Suching es una persona sin problemas. Jessie es una persona sin problemas. Entonces, Floyd y yo estamos en un club.
Sí.
El club de las personas y los gatos que tienen problemas.
Bromético. No,
Sí.
bromético.
¿Ya tienes tú un problema o más que uno? ¿Estás tú en el club de Suching y Jessie? ¿El club de las personas sin problemas?
Sí, yo creo que yo no tengo problemas grandes, yo tengo problemas chicos, problemas chiquitos. Para mí no son problemas. Entonces yo estoy en mi club de las personas sin problemas.
Oh, pero tú nos dijiste que tú tienes chiquitos problemas. Entonces, tú no puedes entrar en el club de las personas sin problemas porque una persona necesita tener nunca problemas. ¿Nunca problemas? Nunca problemas.
Nunca.
Nada.
Ningún problema, cero
Ningún, there we go.
problemas.
That's the word. Ningún problemas. I was like, nunca does not work. That's never. Sí, ningún problemas. Entonces, tú tienes tu propio club. El club de las personas con chiquitos problemas. ¿Sí? Sí.
Okay,
Es mi cuento. Entonces, yo te dije, tú tienes tu propio club, el club de las personas sin problemas grandes, pero con problemas pequeños. Sí. Y Suching y Jessie están en el club de las personas sin problemas Y Floyd y yo estamos en el club de las personas y los gatos que tienen demasiado problemas. Sí. Sí, muy bien. Jessie,
Sí.
¿quién está en tu club?
¿En mi club?
Yeah, en tu club.
Es Suching. Suching y yo no tenemos problemas. So, es muy
mejor.
fácil. Sí.
Es la mejor.
Sí.
Sí, sí.
¿El mejor o la mejor?
Es el mejor.
El mejor.
Yeah,
Sí.
es el mejor,
Mm,
¿verdad?
Solamente feliz.
muy
Solamente.
bien.
Happiness. How do you say happiness?
¿Felicidades?
Felicidad.
No, I don't know.
Felicidad. Sí,
Mm.
felicidad.
Felicidad.
Suching,
Sí.
estaban, lo siento, estaba Yael en ustedes en ustedes club.
Yael.
Estaba Yael.
Sí. Y Yael quiere.
Su club, gracias.
Y Yael quiere ver. Come back.
Volver.
Yeah, I can't say
Volver.
no.
Yeah,
Volver.
O
Volver.
regresar. No. Volver o regresar.
Oh,
Volver. Volver. Yeah, return.
Mis grupo.
Revolve. It's kind of like revolve, but yeah, return. Yeah, return. Yeah.
Ya él no quiere entre tus grupos. Es muy triste.
Es un club
grupo.
triste.
Es un grupo muy triste.
Es un club triste. Es un grupo triste. Sí.
Sí.
Triste, club felices.
Sí, Yael estaba en su club, en sus club, sí, pero no está ahora mismo en el club de las personas sin problemas porque Yael tiene problemas pequeños, sí. Él cree que los problemas pequeños no son problemas para él, pero no es la verdad, porque son problemas pequeños y los problemas, cada día los problemas le dicen, estamos aquí. Somos problemas. Entonces, no puede estar en sus club, en su club.
Sí.
Yeah. Muy bien. Yo tampoco. Sí, yo tampoco. Ok. So, hemos terminado, pero describe la situación. So, Yael, describe la situación, por favor.
Ok. Es una situación muy grande
Complicado.
y complicada también.
So, ¿quién tiene un gato? ¿Quién no tiene un gato? Y ¿cuáles son los problemas de Floyd y de mí? ¿Y cuáles clubs hay?
Ok. Pues Elena tiene un gato y Jessie también tiene un gato. Jessie tiene un gato atigrado y es de color gris. Yo quiero un gato, pero yo quiero un gato amarillo. Pero Jessie dice que el gato es naranja. Jessie dice que el gato es naranja, que no hay gatos amarillos, que no existen gatos amarillos. Pero yo digo que sí, yo creo que sí. Y bueno, también nosotros creemos que tú tienes muchos problemas o nosotros creíamos que tú tenías muchos problemas. Yo creía que tú no tenías tiempo para estudiar muchos idiomas. Jessie creía que tú tenías tu arrendadora, se quejaba de la música y Sujin creía que tú también, que tú no tenías tiempo, que tocar el piano no estaba permitido, que tener gatos.
No, sí, gatos, sí, gatos. Sí.
Que tener gatos no estaba permitido. Y tú nos dijiste la verdad. La verdad es que tú tienes solo un problema y el problema es que tú tienes muchos problemas.
Sí.
Entonces, tienes muchos problemas. Y hay un club, hay un club.
¿Solo
para,
un club?
Bueno, ¿no hay 2 clubes o 3 clubes?
Tres clubes, sí.
Ok, hay un club para las personas con problemas. Creo que es tu club, el club de las personas con
Y
problemas.
gatos, y los gatos.
Y gatos, ajá, las personas con problemas y gatos. Hay otro club de las personas sin problemas, es el club de Jessie y de Sujin, es su club. Y también hay un club para las personas con problemas pequeños, para las personas con problemas pequeñitos, pequeñititos. Es mi club.
Sí. Tú
Y
tienes
bueno,
tu propio club.
tengo mi propio club y se acabó el tiempo.
Muy bien. Tú estabas en el club de Suching y Jessie, pero ahora mismo no. Lo siento.
Yo quiero volver.
Maybe later you can get back in. We'll see.
Ok.
We fix
Sí.
this problema pequeño.
Sí. Who wants to go next? Suching or Jessie?
I don't mind.
Okay, then you go.
Okay.
¿Lista?
Sí.
Fuera.
Listo. Hay tres grupos y el grupo número 1 es un grupo que
¿Un grupo de quién? ¿Un grupo de quiénes?
Okay, un grupo de quienes
Oh no, that was a question.
¿De quién? Con,
¿De las personas o
de
de
las
de los
personas,
gatos?
de las personas con muchos problemas. Y el grupo includo Nathan y Floyd y quizás Elena y otras personas. Y el grupo número 2 es el grupo de las personas sin problema.
Sí.
Y el grupo incluido Jessie y yo, incluido Jessie y yo. Y en este grupo solamente felicidad. Y hay otro grupo nuevo que es el grupo de Yair estaba en mi grupo, pero ahora mismo ya él tiene problemas pequeños. Y así que we kick him out.
Sí. Así que no puede estar. Sí.
No puede stay. Oh my God, stay. How do you say
No,
stay?
incluye, okay.
Oh,
No
incluye.
puede,
Learn that word.
yeah, wait, stay. I can
Quedarse.
I can
something like
quedarse.
that.
Yeah. Quedarse.
Quedarse. Y así que no puede quedarse en mi grupo.
Sí.
Yeah.
Muy bien. Incluir. El grupo incluye a Nathan y Floyd. En el grupo están incluidos. En el grupo are included. So in the group are included Nathan and Floyd. En el grupo están incluidos Nathan y Floyd. Hay un grupo or hay un club. Yeah. Hay un club. I'm saying club because a club, there are rules about who can be in the club and who can't be in a club. But a group, there might not necessarily be rules about your group. You know, it's just a group. We're just grouping people together. So that's why I chose the word un club, because the rule to be in the club is that you don't have any problems. So tú no puedes quedarse en el club, Yael, porque tú tienes problemas pequeños ahora mismo, pero tú estabas en el club. Muy bien. Jessie, describe la situación, por favor.
Ok. Two personas tienen gatos. Elena tiene un gato Floyd y yo tengo un gato Buddy. Pero Nathan y Suchin y Yael no tienen gatos. Yael quiere un gato, pero no tiene un gato ahora, pero él tiene un gato amarillo.
Sí, quiere un gato amarillo.
Amarillo. No.
Amarillo.
Amarillo. Rana. Pero Nathan tiene muchos
Talk to
problemas.
me about me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Nathan, tú tienes muchos problemas, pero tú piensas que
Yo pienso, sí, tú piensas que, yo pienso que.
Piensas que tú tienes un problema.
Sí, tengo solo un problema.
Solo un problema y tu problema es tú tienes muchos problemas.
Sí, tengo muchos problemas.
Y tú eres en un club por personas y gatos que tienen tiene problemas.
Sí, estoy en el club, sí.
Tú estás en el club y Floyd el gato estás en el mismo club.
Sí.
Pero Suchin, Yael y yo en el pasado estaba en el mismo club.
Sí, estábamos juntos, sí.
Pero ahora ya ando en sorry, I was just
Keep
getting on a
going.
roll.
Sí.
No, that's fine. Yael's no longer in our club because he had a problem. He had a little problem.
Sí. Ahora mismo no está en su club. Sí. con ustedes. Qué triste.
Oh,
Sí.
yeah.
Sí, yo
Pobre.
estoy en el club de las personas y los gatos que tienen problemas. Y Suching y Jessie, ustedes están en el club de las personas sin problemas.
Sí.
Y hay una regla que dice que si una persona tiene problemas, entonces no podría quedarse o no podría estar en el club porque necesito tener, lo siento, necesita tener ningún problema. Y ya él estaba en el club con ustedes, pero ahora mismo él tiene problemas pequeños. Entonces, tiene su propio club. El club de las personas que tienen problemas pequeñitos. How do you say that?
Pequeñitos.
Pequeñitos.
Poquitos.
Sí.
Pequeñitos.
Pequeñitos.
Oh, goodness.
Pequeñitimos. I don't know. Muy bien. Okay.
That was fun.
Sí.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
Pequeñitimos.
We need to add those to our list.
Muy bien.
Save your chat so you can add those to our list.
Oh, sí. Pequeñititos.
Pequeñitos.
¿Hay preguntas?
No,
¿Comentarios?
it was fun. We just kind of let it flow tonight. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
thought it was fun.
surprised, every time we look at the same picture, we always come up something different. This is like amazing.
I know, it's like I just kind of put the picture up there. I don't even know why. I mean, it's just something to look at, right?
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's why I'm thinking, like when I prepare my class, but I kind of want to change the picture anyway, because I want them to feel we're doing something different. Maybe we're still talking about the same thing. We don't care. But yeah.
I mean, as a student, do you even notice the pictures there?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
I do notice. But I know you're going to come up with something different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's his story. Don't forget, it's his story.
Right, it's my story. Yeah. But yeah, we just have, well, I guess we did end up just talking about problems, didn't we? So I guess the slide is fitting, but yeah, I forget the slide's even there.
Yes.
But it's just, something to stare at when you look at the screen and it keeps me, it also keeps me from putting too many words on the screen too.
Yeah.
So if I have all this space to write stuff, then I'm going to fill it up. So I let this space or this slide just, be there and I mean, I could click one more time. Oh, what the hell? I could click one more time and then, okay, now we have, but you guys know this, so I don't need to have that there. I also have this one too. Sorry, yeah, Suching.
Oh, I'm wondering, would you ever think about doing some, activities where we share different photos of us? But well, it's I don't know your curriculum, but I'm thinking it would be fun to use our actual picture occasionally.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
we describe the story in the picture. And then we get to see, us in different, where maybe when we're traveling or when we are a baby, I don't know. I just think it would be a fun topic to use.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, that's part of TPRS and There's
Use
picture
the
talk, movie talk,
Mm.
art talk, music talk,
See.
card talk. I mean, there's all sorts of different talks.
Yeah.
I just don't do them because I haven't been trained in them. Not that I have to be trained in them, but I haven't been trained in them, so they're not in my thinking. You know, they're just not even in my in my mind. So
Yeah.
I kind of, sort of, a little did a picture talk in German and Korean that has gone on for 20 or not quite 20 classes. Maybe I started at class 6 or 7. So maybe, I don't know, 9 classes or something. And we've only revealed the first picture.
Oh God.
There are 5 pictures and we've only revealed the first picture. Yeah, my German classes are really quite different from the Spanish class. But also this Spanish class is intermediate, so you know, that's also different too. But yeah, I do things quite differently in German. I mean, if you know what you're looking for, then you would see the difference in my German class versus the Spanish class. If you don't know what you're looking for, you'd be like, well, it's the same thing, you know. But you know.
Well, the German class, we don't have a lot of words, so we can't.
But our story is 1,000 words this week.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's the same, same words regurgitated. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
It's his fault. I dreamed in German all one night. You know, I got that story and I was reading it and I was reading over it. And it was just like all night long I was dreaming in German. The same story.
Yeah,
like Groundhog Day.
Our story is got really deep roots. You know, there's just.
But we don't have that many words, so that's why we have to just keep.
Well, I mean, we have
saying it different ways.
Words, I mean.
Yeah, you got a lot of words.
Yeah. And now we have all this, you know, fancy color coding. Yeah. But yeah, 1010, right? But yeah, it's just lots of repetitions for you to get, you know, what's going on.
And that's why, like, you know, Suching, you talked about showing pictures or something, you know, doing picture talk. And in the German class, I don't think we could do that because we don't have enough vocabulary to do it. Like, you can't say there's a man and there's a woman and there's their car and the car is this color and they're outside in the woods. You know, we can say that in Spanish, but I couldn't say that in German.
Well, I mean, we could still do exactly what she's saying, but what we would talk about would be very different from what we would talk about with, you know, we could talk about like what color something is now that we know all the colors. Well, not all the colors, but you know, I mean in German, you know. Yeah. And you know, we could talk about what there is and what there isn't, and we could say, you know, are there any of the people in our story in there? No, they aren't in there. You know, that's a challenge. You just, I'll make it work. We'll go for 2 hours just talking about this picture.
See what you've done, Suching.
No. I think
down the gauntlet for him.
The picture talk is like, you know, Nathan showed you an example about his own picture. And then next time you can use Jesse's picture. But then what you're going to talk, it's really, you know, there's no certain fixed, you know, thing you have to talk. Yeah. Just use the picture as a, you know, as a
focal point. Yeah. Focal point.
Yeah. But I feel like sometimes the story, it's a bit tricky because you kind of want to encourage your student what he said is right, but then it's going to all over the place. So it's really hard to focus on one direction. So that's one thing I'm still learning. I don't know how to drag them back because I don't want to discourage them. Right.
So it just depends on the level of the student. You know, so if the student is more intermediate, then you have what Blaine calls divergent retell. So they're still retelling the story mostly, but they diverge. They go this way. And so when there's a divergent retell, then as the teacher, you know, this is, again, I've said this before, but this is where my edge is in terms of teaching you all Spanish, is that I'm not able to actually contain all the language that you guys put out. So I'm right at my edge. And this is why Yael, we need Yael to be here most times, or, you know, to be checking the story, because you need to be a teacher who can contain all the language. Now in Mandarin, you're going to be able to do that just fine. So with your intermediate or your advanced students, you can wrap your metaphorical arms around everything that they say. And so what you do is you just reflect to them what they've said. And as a teacher, you pick out the points where they slipped, and there's a learning gem, something that you could reflect back to them that they might possibly hear the difference. You don't say everything back. You just listen for the things that it could be a learning gem, a learning opportunity for them to hear something. And so then you reflect that little bit back to them. And maybe they hear it, maybe they don't. But if you don't provide the environment for them to hear it, they're never going to hear it. So you just reflect to them slowly. You slow down when you get to the point where there's the learning gem, to make it obvious. And then if you have varying levels of students in a class, like if it's a group class, then you're going to restate the story in simpler, well, I don't want to say simpler, but in less divergent language for the rest of the class to reground them. Because they're not going to be able to follow everything that student just said.
Yeah.
So you just restate it back in, you know, the more common language among everyone. That way you let the divergent student go off and you acknowledge that, oh yeah, that was right, and this, that, and the other thing, and you reflect to them, but then you recenter it for the rest of the students in the group.
Yeah.
With your beginning students, you're not going to have that as much, but we want to encourage them to create as well. But you're going to have a lot more repetitive retells where they're basically saying the same thing. And their reflection is easier because there's just less language. And with your advanced students, you're going to do a lot less as a teacher, a lot less. So you're sitting back and you just ask a question like, oh, Floyd's blue. Why is he blue? And then you just let your students talk. And then occasionally you say, oh, you think that because he fell into a blue river and now he's forever blue or whatever. And you just reflect it back like you're having a conversation and you're remarking on what the student said out of curiosity. And, you know, I could do that in English. Like if I was teaching an English TPRS class, I could do that because I could contain all that language. But here, you know, I could never teach advanced Spanish students yet because there's just no way that I could contain the creative retells that, and you let the students create the story. And who cares where it goes? Who cares if it follows any sort of pattern, any sort of logical order? No one cares. This literally is just a disguise for them to talk about something.
Yeah.
And we can add like little details or new words, right? Like for example, this new word, quejarse, and one at a time. So you still are learning more vocabulary, more structures, but diverging, right?
Yes, and as an advanced teacher, like as a teacher to advanced students, then your sort of your trick or your challenge comes in of like, how can I get more repetitions of this new word into what I'm saying or into what the story is saying so that they can hear it enough times if they're not using it correctly, or I don't want to use the word correctly, but if there's still growth for them in that structure or that word, I need to get it in more. I need to cut in myself and talk about myself. You know, so in an advanced class, you talk about, you should always talk about yourself as a teacher, as a language teacher, so that they know how to talk about themselves. If I don't talk about myself in the first person, they have no idea how to talk about themselves. So I want to talk about myself as soon as possible. And I don't always do that well. I forget, oh yeah, I got to talk about myself and make a story about myself. Otherwise, they don't hear, I'm repeating myself. I repeat myself a lot, especially even more now in my native language, because I'm used to repeating myself in the foreign language. But yeah, you got to talk about yourself.
Yeah, I do. I like talking about myself. And after I talk about myself, I'll be like, okay, tell me about my story. And then tell me your story. So I quite like it. I think it's really good for the listening. I don't know. Yeah, I just think, I don't know how I can make sure they learn things. Of course, they're learning things. They feel like, okay, today we have a topic, say I want them to learn the color. So today we focus more on this instead of, okay, just flowing everywhere. Yeah.
Really, I think it's a mindset shift. So when we're teaching language, and I'm still working on these mindset shifts myself.
Yeah.
It's so it's fine to pick a topic. It's fine to pick something that you want to work on as a language teacher is totally fine. Just have it loosely held in a hand and ready to throw out the window the moment you sit down. It happens to me all the time. I'm like, we're going to do this today. I sit down and literally something new comes to mind. I'm like, whoop, throw it out the window. Anyway, but changing our mindset from, okay, once I find a learning gem of a learning opportunity for the student in the class, this is where I'm going to go, and I'm just going to limit everything in the class around this. And I'm going to, especially for the beginners, I'm just going to, okay, we're not going anywhere else. I mean, if the student goes somewhere else, great. I reflect to them, yeah, that's right. And then I come back to this and I create multiple stories, parallel stories that follow the same grammar pattern or same thing or whatever that the student has given to me, that they have growth yet, because they said it in a way that's like, wait, oh, whoops. Okay, there's growth there. So I'm going to focus on this and I'm going to tend to this, which is why it almost is pointless in a way to make a plan before we teach class, because we need our student to give us their plan, their learning opportunity, their gem. So really the only purpose to making a plan as a teacher is to make ourselves feel calm and relaxed. Because if we're not calm and relaxed, then our class isn't going to go well. So we have a plan that makes us calm and relaxed. Okay, shit hits the fan and I don't know what to do. At least I have this plan. And so now I can relax. But I have to let this plan go. I can't be like, we've got to do this plan, because then class is going to suck too. Because I'm going to feel like, oh, I didn't do what I wanted to do. And then I'm going to maybe resent my student or feel like I'm a bad teacher or, whatever it is. So we have this plan really loosely held. We show up to class. The student does the thing. They describe the situation or the triangle, and we notice, whoa, they really have an area to grow here. Here's my plan. Bye. Thanks for making me feel comfortable. Okay, now I'm gonna.
I need to go, sweetie.
Okay, bye, Jessie. Thank you. Nos vemos mañana. See you tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
So yeah, just throw the plan out the window and be like, okay, now this is where we're gonna focus, and I'm gonna talk about me, and I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna ask the student about them, but then if it's a one-on-one class, you know, talk about maybe their brother or their sibling, or, you know, get somebody else into the story.
Okay.
Or talk about me, be like, oh, my Spanish teacher has this thing or this thing, and make stuff up about me. You know, just get somebody, you need to get other characters into the story.
Yeah.
Otherwise you don't get enough
hard.
repetitions. And you're trying to, you know, grasp at something to say it more times. If you have 3, 4, 5, this is why I only want to do group classes, because you automatically have real live characters that have real meaning, and then don't feel to the student like, why are we talking about this person who's not really even here? And then you got to work to make this person real for your student, because they're not there. But in a group class, they're there. You don't have to make them real. It's like, even if they're playing a fake character, doesn't matter, because that person representing that character is actually present in the class. And then when they're not present in the class, you can still talk about them because they were there. And you can also talk about them in the past tense, which now you're getting use of past tense because they were in the class, but now they're not in the class. And it's just, it has so much meaning. Not to say that you shouldn't do one-on-ones or that you can't do it with one-on-ones. You just got to learn how to bring people into the, or even just tell your student, hey, I'm going to bring in other people into the story. Might seem like, why are you bringing other people into the story? They're not here. It's so that we have more people to talk about, you know, and just tell them point blank, and they'll be like, oh, okay. And this is going to help you develop your language.
There is one very important point that you mentioned there about, okay, finding some point where the student may be stuck at. So then we stick to that point and we basically leave our learning plans. Because I was actually thinking about it, like, in reality, according to the book of TPRS and what the book says, you don't need a plan, because eventually all of these things, the grammar topics, will come out and you will talk about them in class. But I was trying to think like, okay, maybe, I don't know if there are some things that are harder to learn for the student and some others that are easier. So maybe I should stick with a kind of, at least some things like, you know, instead of teaching them right away, okay, le dice, se lo dije, well, just with the basics and still focus on that. And I don't think, for example, that I have a problem with when I was practicing with a student of mine, of bringing up some famous people or some famous characters like, oh, Shakira, Michael Jackson, and then just making jokes about them, or even Miss Madonna, to practice usted, maybe also put this person, tell, okay, now you're going to be Madonna, and I'm going to ask you questions. So I talk to them with usted, and they notice the difference. So yeah, I don't think that might be a problem. So it has both advantages and disadvantages of group classes and individual classes. But in reality, I think that the group classes would be better, because yeah, the student doesn't feel the pressure of always needing to talk.
Right,
and sometimes
right.
they don't feel like the pace is too slow. They can, because other people are talking, they are listening to them, and they don't want to go too fast either. So
yeah, and when you have a group class, you naturally just go slower, and when you go slower, there's deeper comprehension. Even when the student is feel like, I got it, you know, no, you don't got it, because look at your production. And I'm not trying to be rude or mean or anything. I'm saying that your production shows that there's new depths of comprehension that you've yet to acquire. And this is fine. This is the progress. This is the progression. You need more repetitions. So when there are other students in the class, you automatically have an environment where there's going to be more repetitions, because you've got more students to talk to. You have more students who need to repeat it, and then they're going to not repeat it perfectly. So then it's going to give more opportunities for every student to observe the correct language, because they're going to have something to compare it to every time one student says it one way, the teacher says it another way. this creates all this juxtaposition for students to hear. And like Yala was saying, you're not always on this, you're not always in the spotlight. So you are able to relax and observe, and there's things that you can notice about the language and about the meaning and about the story that you can't notice when you're in the spotlight, because there's other things that you're considering when you're in the spotlight and you're producing. When you're just sitting back and listening, you can notice things that you wouldn't notice otherwise. So in a one-on-one situation, you're removing that opportunity from the student to just observe. Unless you like played something, you know, or played a video and they observed the video. But that's not as authentic or real as having real people really there interacting to observe. You know?
You know what else I do? I actually, well, besides of course the class time, because we only, the intention here is comprehensible learning acquisition. So I tell them, okay, what you can do is install some extensions. There are actually some Chrome extensions that allow you to put double subtitles on every video, either in Netflix or in YouTube. I tell them you can do those. Watch them as most, as much as you can. So that would be their immersion. The other learning part that they are missing, like, okay, I need to know more words, or if they feel like, they can expose themselves to as many content as they want, and they can actually practice Spanish because they are reading the translation and they are understanding what they are listening. They're exposing themselves to native production. So yeah, that's another thing that I recommend them.
One thing that I like to add to watching videos that you could try with your students or recommend or experiment with is, personally, when I understand the movie or the thing that I'm watching, when I understand everything that's happened, my motivation to rewatch that video or that movie is like next to zero. So what I like to do is I like to watch it with subtitles in the language as many times as I can tolerate. You know, not understanding everything and just hearing it a bunch of times, watching it over and over and over as much as I can tolerate, so that I could maybe start to comprehend more. And, you know, there's better things to do that with than other things, because when it's a really like an action movie or something where there's close cause and effect, where what they're saying actually makes something happen, I'm able to interpret what's happening, versus a drama where there's lots of like subtext and there's lots of like inference and there's a lot of nebulous stuff that I can't, there's no way I can understand what they're saying, you know, because nothing is concretely happening. Or kids shows, watching kids shows where like stuff actually happens when they say something. And then only watching that in the target language or target subtitles so that I can actually pinpoint what each word is. Doing that as many times as I want. Okay, my motivation to rewatch it again is going to be pretty high because I didn't understand everything that happened. Then once I watched it a bunch of times, okay, now I'll turn on the double subtitles. And now I'll be able to understand everything that I was hearing so many times, and it will really, you know, be a deeper comprehensible experience for me. And then most likely I won't be able to watch it one more. Maybe if I'm really disciplined, I can make myself watch it another time without the English there. But now that I know what's actually happening, I want to see what happens next. You know, I want to watch the next thing. And then the other thing I want to say about what you said, yeah, is the research is pretty overwhelming, that there's a natural progression of acquisition in terms of grammar structures and, you know, what is acquired first, second, third, fourth. It's pretty clear. So I do believe in exposing students to, you know, like higher levels of language early on so that they're hearing it, but keeping those limited and also not expecting them to produce that language. Because they can usually comprehend some of that stuff, but not necessarily produce it because it's in the later stages of acquisition. So like if-then clauses and stuff like that. Like you can kind of understand it, but production is a whole nother matter. So, but then other features of the language, like in German and in Spanish, agreement and gender, we want to have those right up front at the very beginning because there's such a deep intuitive understanding of the language. And so we need to compare and contrast those like ad nauseam, like ridiculous amounts of times so that students can build a correct intuition about the gender and about the case. So they need exposure to that very, very soon. And in Chinese, you know, they're going to get it naturally, these exposure to all these tones, you know, because that's something that is not clear. It's not clear on the surface. So they need lots of contrasting and exposure to those so that they can create an accurate intuition from the beginning for the language. Because we'll develop intuition very fast about the language. We're like, that doesn't sound right. But if the language we've been receiving isn't accurate, now you two don't have to worry about that because you're both native speakers in the language that you're teaching. But if the input that they haven't been receiving is accurate and hasn't been repetitive and consistent enough, so this you do have to worry about as native speakers. It's got to be repetitive and consistent. You know, the juxtapositions can't, you know, juxtapositions like you're putting two contrasting things really close to each other. They have to be relatively consistent and they can't be inconsistent and confusing. So you just pick two things that you really want to like juxtapose each other, and you do that a lot so that they can observe that versus like this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, I'm juxtaposing all of these. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what to focus on. But yeah, anyway, I'm talking a lot, so thanks.
Oh yeah, it makes total sense to me. And also the part about videos that I also, yeah, I've heard about it. I think your idea is very good, like at least 2 times, one without anything but the subtitles in the target language, next time with double subtitles. Because what I tell them is that it depends on you, right? In my case, and also from what I've read in other books, is like, for example, we should be exposed to things that where we understand at least 70%, because if not, it is going to be very frustrating for us. But in my case, I feel it. For example, when I understand some German or French at 50%, I am like, oh, damn, I need to watch this. But I don't actually watch it again. I don't feel like very motivated. So that could be my case and not your case. In your case, you will watch it again. I wouldn't go back. I'll just go and watch another video, or maybe watch the same video but 2 days later. And yeah, naturally, I will understand more after getting more exposure. So I've seen, because I've noticed the progress, like, okay, this video, I watched it like 2 months ago, and I understand a lot more than before. That's amazing. And also the thing about, yeah, the acquisition, because actually the book also mentions that part, that there is a natural order, but I couldn't find anything, or well, I haven't done enough research. I don't know if there are some papers or articles about, okay, first people learn these things, like the articles, then people learn the conjugation of this. I don't know if there are.
Yeah, there are groups. There are groups of concepts that they acquire. So there's like group 1, group 2, group 3, and the majority of the studies have been done in English. I mean, that I know of. I don't know about other languages, but and it's more like concepts, but then also specific grammar features like negation, or, you know, pluralization, and these kind of concepts, they have a natural progression in language acquisition. So this is what you can expect from your students' production, and areas where you want to, focus your production. But maybe there are things that you can extrapolate or interpolate. Not sure. I don't understand those words as well. But reading the research on English acquisition, there may be some parallels, at least for Spanish, that you could draw perhaps to kind of follow that natural order of progression. Agreement, I think a masculine agreement comes before feminine agreement because so this was on Spanish, because masculine is more common than feminine, and like always the masculine agreement was achieved before feminine agreement. And I was like, really? I think I'm an outlier on that one. But it was more for me because it's like, as soon as I knew that there was agreement, and because I have German background, and I'm a fast processor, so I can monitor my language pretty fast. So like for agreement, that is not really too hard in most cases for me, but that's more to do with my monitor and not necessarily acquisition. Monitor means like correcting your language in your head, watching your language and correcting it as it comes out. That's your monitor. But yeah, German too, I would guess that masculine would come first as well, just because in accusative, it's the only thing that changes. So, it's really obvious, but then, I mean, since it doesn't, then the other ones don't change, then maybe it would be easier. I don't know. Anyway, but.
Yeah, so yeah, it makes sense. So I will check those studies and see what I find, because for example, what I was thinking was like, okay, maybe follow the curriculum of a book, which is not the most recommended thing. But with my own experience in learning, for example, it happens, but there are some voids where, okay, the book is okay. Actually, I think that, yeah, the organization of the book, of the verbs that they present, or like me gusta, me interesa, then we are going to see more irregular verbs, then we are going to see other tenses. So at least to me with French, I feel comfortable with a book because I am actually seeing the difference. It is more like, okay, this is new to me, and I think that, yeah, it is easy for me to learn languages. So it is not very hard for me to go from one topic to the other and move on. So I notice the difference, like, okay, now I know this new thing, let's move on to the other. But in reality, there are some things like when I was learning German that were presented to me in the books and I couldn't understand them until later when I was exposed to more advanced topics or other things, more exposure. So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think that we need to follow. Well, I mean, really, we just follow where our students lead us. So what their production, this is why I need more describe the situations all the time. We all need more describe the situations, but in a class, you got to give enough repetitions. So circling and triangling takes up time, and meeting more frequently would also really, really help a lot. But getting your students to describe and talk so that you listen to their language and you see, wow, that was not strong and healthy. So as a teacher, again, you throw your plan out the window and you focus in on what your student just gave you. Your student or students just gave you exactly what they need you to teach them. They just gave you your lesson. So don't go anywhere else. Don't do anything else. Just focus on this, add in other characters, other storylines or whatever, and then wait for their production to strengthen. When their production strengthens, it tells you that their comprehension is at a deep level now because they're able to produce it. now it's not to say that we can't introduce anything else or we can't go anywhere else. We want to stay really close to what our students have. They've just given us a gift. I was quoted. Now there's a poster with my actual quote on it, my first quotation ever. It says, "I don't mind errors, semicolon. They write my lesson plans." So we don't mind the errors, or learning gems, as I like to call them now, from our students, because they're gems. They're little gems, gifts that students have given to us that will write our lesson plans as teachers. If we're in an institution, this is another story, unfortunately. And I bow down to those of you teaching in an institution, and you know, there you've got to find the middle ground. And I don't envy that. I don't envy that position. Suching, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I mean, aren't you working for, I don't know, a school or anything like that?
Yeah, but I don't do any TPRS there.